Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Kelly and welcome in to this plot breakdown of Good Omens. One of, in my opinion, the best books ever. I just love it. I'm so excited to talk about it. You want an incredible story? It's got it. Amazing humour? It's got it. The ability to be heartwarming but also terrifying at the same time? It's got it. In our classic plot breakdown style, I have all of the characters behind me here so you can see a bit of everyone. And all of these have come from the Amazon Prime show of Good Omens, which if you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. It's very, very good. It sticks very close to the book, although there are some variations of things, mostly to do with the timing of events and things like that, but overall I really liked it. Now, I will be giving you an overview of the whole plot of this book, just condensed for your convenience. If you do not want spoilers, you're going to want to turn back now because this video will have all of the spoilers in it. And this series took a lot of work to put together, so if you have a minute, I would appreciate you liking, subscribing, add super thanks, or you can buy the book via my affiliate link. That all really helps me out and I would really appreciate it. So my chums, let's begin as I tell you the story of Good Omens. I of course have my marshmallow pointing fork to point to my character, but I will zoom in on all this so you can actually see who I'm talking about. And we start in the beginning. So we are a week into the creation of the world, and an angel and a demon are overlooking the Garden of Eden. And at this point, Eve has eaten the apple and her and Adam have left the Garden of Eden. Now the angel and the demon that are overlooking the garden are Crowley, who is the demon, and Aziraphale, who is the angel, and these are our two main characters of this whole story. Now the angel, Aziraphale, he has just given Adam and Eve a flaming sword, and Crowley is still a serpent, and we see him as the serpent who's in the tree, you know, getting her to eat the apple. We see him morph into like a human form, and him and Aziraphale start talking overlooking the Garden of Eden. So they're kind of catching up on the events that's just happened. They're talking about the creation of the universe. Aziraphale says that everything that's just happened is all part of the ineffable plan and they just have to trust God that this is what was supposed to happen. And Crowley's like, why did God even put that apple there in the first place if he didn't want them to eat it? What is he really thinking? And Aziraphale's like, no, honestly, look, it's part of the ineffable plan, like, stop questioning it. They have a conversation where they basically ponder how funny it would be if Crowley had done the right thing and Aziraphale had done the wrong thing. And then it starts to rain and Aziraphale lifts his wing over Crowley. Okay, now, it's 11 years ago. It's not a dark and stormy night. It's nice and mild, good weather. Two demons named Hastur and Liger are hanging out in a graveyard. We have Hastur and we have Liger. And these are two of the agents that come from hell. So Hastur is the Duke of Hell. And they're sitting on a bench in the graveyard and they're like, he should have been here hours ago, where is he? And the he that they are talking about is our friend Crowley. But Crowley is casually doing 110 miles per hour in his black 1926 Bentley, and he's listening to the album The Best of Queen. Excellent music choice, Crowley. And he's being followed by the police. So he looks over his shoulder, he makes a little hand gesture, and the police car suddenly just stops. And we see this throughout the book, is that Aziraphale and Crowley will basically perform these little miracles. So Crowley arrives to meet Hastur and Liger, and Hastur invites them all to recall their devilish deeds for the day. Hastur says he has tempted a priest, Liger says he has corrupted a politician, and they are slightly less than impressed, let's say, whenever Crowley says that he has tied up all the telephone lines in London for 45 minutes. They're just like, what? And Crowley's like, no, you don't understand the inconvenience that's caused everyone. Crowley is handed a basket by Hastur and Liger, and then they make him sign a document and they tell him that he will receive his instructions on what to do next. So Crowley gets back in his car with the basket and he starts driving away from the graveyard. And as he's driving, he receives a message through the radio from hell that tells him what he needs to do and that this is very, very important. So Crowley goes to follow these instructions and he arrives at St. Beryl's, which is a vestry, so like a nunnery, but like a hospital. But these are no normal nuns. No way. These nuns are satanic nuns. So they are already in on the plan that's about to go down. So Crowley goes to enter the vestry and he sees Mr. Young standing outside. So Mr. Young is at the hospital to have a baby. And the nuns basically, whenever she got wheeled in, were like, no husbands, no fathers in here, off you go. So he's standing outside and he's smoking a pipe. Crowley sees Mr. Young and he says, has it started yet? And Mr. Young says, yes, it started, she's in room 3, talking about his wife. And this is Mr. Young and this is his wife. Now, this can get a little bit confusing, so I'm going to try and break it down as simply as I can, because there's going to be some baby swapping. Essentially, the whole plan that's about to go down is that Crowley, in his little basket, is carrying the Antichrist. So the plan is that the Antichrist is going to be switched out for a baby that's in the hospital. And the baby it's going to be switched out for is from the American cultural attaché, Mr. Dowling, and his wife. So the plan is Antichrist goes in with the Dowlings and they take the Dowlings' actual baby away. So Crowley, obviously, when he walks in, he sees Mr. Young and Mr. Young says it's room 3. He assumes that they're going to be the only couple there that night. So Crowley goes in with the basket to carry out what he has to do. And he runs into a nun named Sister Mary Loquacious. And Sister Mary is handed the basket with the golden-haired baby boy in it, aka the Adversary, Destroyer of Kings, Angel of the Bottomless Pit, Great Beast that is called Dragon, Prince of this World, Father of Lies, Spawn of Satan, Lord of Darkness. We'll just call him the Antichrist just for, you know, ease. So Sister Mary is handed the Antichrist baby by Crowley, and Crowley's like, here you go, all part of the plan, take this baby to room 3. So Sister Mary's like, great, okay, I'm gonna go switch out this baby with the American attaché and his wife's baby that's just been born. But she doesn't know what any of these people look like yet, you know, she hasn't seen them, so she assumes that room 3 must be the right room. So she enters room 3, and if you remember, this is the room with the Youngs in it, not the American attaché and his wife. So she's in the wrong room. She goes in and she slides in the Antichrist baby beside the Young's actual baby. And as she's doing this, Mr. Young enters the room and she obviously assumes that this is the American attaché guy. So she starts asking him all these questions and he's like, what? Like, he's kind of answering them, but he's also a bit confused, but I guess he doesn't question it too much and she doesn't question it too much because they don't get that much time to talk. And then another nun enters the room and Sister Mary and this other nun wink at each other. And Sister Mary points to baby A, which is the Young's actual baby. So the other nun takes that baby out of the room and the Youngs are left with the Antichrist, not their actual baby. Yeah, it's all a bit confusing, but the plan has essentially gone wrong. The Dowlings were supposed to have the Antichrist, but they don't. They just have their own normal baby. And then the Youngs, their normal baby was switched out with the Antichrist. Next we meet a character named Anathema, and this is her grown up, but at this point in the story she's only 8.5 years old because this is 11 years ago, if you remember. So she's reading the book, and all you need to know is that the book will become very, very important as we go through this story, and I'll talk more about it in a bit. And the book I've put as a separate character because it's very important in this story. Meanwhile at the hospital, the babies are named. The Youngs, who if you remember have the Antichrist, decide to call the baby Adam. And the American attaché and his wife, who if you remember have not got the Antichrist, but everyone is going to think they have the Antichrist, they name their baby Warlock. We also meet a character named Newton Pulsifier. Again, that's him grown up, but at this point he's only 12 years old. And he's in his bedroom at Surrey. And we find out that he's super into like experimenting with electrical stuff. So he's in his room, he's like playing about with like a plug socket. He goes and like puts it back in the wall and all of the lights in the house turn off. And Newton's like, great, I've improved because last time all the lights in the village went off. So in his mind he's like, I'm doing a great job here. And we will come back to him of course in a bit. Same with Anathema, we'll come back to them for sure. 2 days after, the Youngs and the Dowlings leave the hospital, Hastur, who is the Duke of Hell, sets the whole place on fire to destroy any of the remnants that anything ever happened there. Now, Aziraphale and Crowley are by the duck pond in St. James's Park. Crowley is basically telling Aziraphale all about the plan for Armageddon, so the switching out of the Antichrist. And if it wasn't already obvious, the Antichrist is basically going to bring about Armageddon, aka the end of the world. And this is meant to happen when he turns 11 years old. But obviously at this point the babies have just been born, so Crowley is telling Aziraphale what's going to happen. And Aziraphale's like, okay, but it's all part of the ineffable plan, it's all supposed to happen, and God knows what he's doing, you know, he's kind of still very much on the side of like Kevin. He's like, we are going to win. And Crowley's like, do you really think any of us are going to win? Now, one thing I want to mention is that Crowley and Aziraphale, one of the key things in this whole book is their friendship, and it's actually so nice. It's one of the things I absolutely love about this book is their relationship. I think it's so nice. They have like a real best friend relationship, and you see it like develop throughout the whole book, and you can kind of see that like both of them really like being humans. They really like being on Earth, being humans, getting to be friends and hang out together, and obviously they don't get that if they go back to heaven and hell. So they kind of are defending the Earth for a lot of this because they seem to just really like being there, and they're really good friends. If you have seen Good Omens 2, season 2 of Good Omens, the last episode, let me know what you think about it in the comments down below without ruining it for everyone else, because I personally did not like how it ended. But, you know, that's just my opinion. Now, Aziraphale, he also owns and runs a bookshop, which he's basically using as a personal library for himself. So he tries to avoid customers as much as possible. And again, we hear about the book being brought up, and we hear that there's actually only one copy of it in the world. It's the only book that has ever accurately predicted all of the events of history and everything that's going to happen. And the book is called The Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Agnes Nutter, Witch. And we'll come back to Agnes in a bit. Obviously she is like an ancestor, so she's already dead at this point, but we will come back to her, we will talk about her. She is the one that wrote the book. So we skip forward, we're a bit later in time, and now Crowley and Aziraphale are in the bookshop, and they've gotten a little bit sloshed. Basically they've enjoying a few drinks together, having a good time, and once again they're talking about Armageddon and the ineffable plan. And Crowley says to Aziraphale, like, how do we know that us interfering in the plan isn't part of the plan? Like, how do we know that that's not actually what's supposed to happen? And Aziraphale's like, you got an interesting point there. And then they talk about how maybe if the Antichrist had a different upbringing, he wouldn't turn out to end the world. Maybe if he was taught right and wrong, he would know to control his power and he wouldn't actually end the world. So Crowley and Aziraphale agree that they are going to be godfathers, in a sense, to the Antichrist as he's growing up, act as like a good demon and a bad demon on his shoulders, and teach him right from wrong in order to kind of thwart the plan that's already in place. So we'll leave them there for a second and we'll go meet a couple of other people. We have a woman named Scarlet Red. She looks about 25 years old and she's got like red hair, and she's in a place called Kombola Land in Africa. Now, this wasn't her desired destination. She was going somewhere else in Africa, but her truck has broken down, and her truck is carrying guns, ammo, bombs, a bunch of stuff for starting a war. So she has a drink and she's like, oh, what am I going to do about my truck? And then she's like, do you know what the hell, I'll just start a war here instead. So she starts a war in Kombola Land, a nation that has been at peace for 3,000 years. 2 days later, Kombola Land is a no-go area, and the next week the economy is shattered. She leaves and she's like, good job me. She's looking for a change. She's gonna go on holidays. Now, her real name is War. And we'll of course be talking about this as we go through, but these four up here, these are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So they are all necessary for the apocalypse to happen, and the first of those is who we've just seen, and that's War. So let's meet the second of these 4, and this is Dr. Raven Sable, and he is having dinner in a fancy New York restaurant, one of those restaurants that serves like tiny little portions but charges a ton of money for them. And he's talking about how much he loves it that people are under eating, how much they're not having anything to eat and they're just paying loads of money for it, and he loves it. He's talking about selling 12 million copies of his diet book when he's greeted by a tiny model who asks him for his autograph, and we leave him as he's grinning and thinking about the fact that people are going hungry, which makes him happy. And if you had not guessed it, his name is Famine. So he's the second of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. We have War and we have Famine. Now back to our babies. So Harriet Dowling and her husband Thaddeus, they have returned home with their baby, but he works away a lot, so they decide that they're going to get a nanny to help look after the baby, and they also need a gardener to look after the grounds of their house. And you will never guess who these two, the nanny and the gardener, end up looking like. Well, surprise surprise, the nanny ends up looking a lot like Crowley and the gardener ends up looking a lot like Aziraphale, and the two essentially start their job of being the angel and the devil to Warlock. So as he grows up, they start to telling him right and wrong, and they kind of, yeah, give him like a moral compass of good things and bad things. Of course, all of this time they think he is the Antichrist, when of course he is not at all. It is this other baby, but they think it is Warlock. There are some really funny bits in this chapter. I mean, this whole book, like you have to read it because it's hard for me to convey all of the humor in it, but it's just so funny. Like, for example, I'm gonna read you a couple of like the nursery rhymes that Crowley reads to Warlock as he's growing up. Are so funny. Oh, the grand old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill and crushed all of the nations of the world and brought them under the rule of Satan our master. And this little piggy went to Hades, this little piggy stayed home, this little piggy ate raw and steaming human flesh, this little piggy violated virgins, and this little piggy clambered over a heap of dead bodies to get to the top. Like, what? But genuinely, like, it's just so good. So we skip ahead to Warlock being 10, and like I say, this whole time he's being brought up by the nanny and the gardener to be both good and bad. So Aziraphale and Crowley are catching up with each other, and Crowley basically says like something's wrong. He's not as bad as he should be. Like, he should be starting to show some of his like Antichrist potential to be bad, but he's just not. So Crowley tells Aziraphale that on his 11th birthday, the Antichrist will be sent a hellhound to watch over him and protect him from harm. And this will be done like on his 11th birthday at 3 p.m. So Crowley and Aziraphale agree that they will meet at his birthday party so that they can see this happen. Crowley says that if he like rejects the animal and is like, I don't want it, or like sends it back, that is good. That means they've done a good job. If he names it, that will trigger Armageddon. So now we're on Wednesday, and it is Warlock's 11th birthday. And that also means that it's Adam, the real Antichrist's birthday, but they think it's Warlock, so they're at Warlock's birthday party. Now it gets to after 3 o'clock and they're getting quite concerned. They're like, where is this hellhound? It has not arrived. So Crowley goes to his car and talks through the radio to Hell, and he's like, what's going on? Like, where's the hellhound? And they're like, well, the hellhound should have been there 10 minutes ago. Like, we released it. What's going on? Is something wrong? And Crowley's like, no, everything's fine. It's here. I can see it. It's all good. Even though he didn't get. So Crowley and Aziraphale decide, they're like, something's wrong, we need to go and figure it out. And they decide that there must have been some mix up at the hospital. Like, there must have been a third baby, there must have been some kind of weird thing that happened, because this is not the Antichrist. So they decide to head to the hospital where the babies were born to look at the hospital records. Okay, so now we get a first glimpse of our actual Antichrist, Adam. If you remember, the son of the Youngs. And Adam is hanging out with his friends, and he's basically saying like, oh, I would love a dog for my birthday. Like, I would just absolutely love a dog. You know, it'd be really cool if my parents got me one. And they're like, yeah, as if your parents would ever get you a dog. And as he's saying this, there is this like scary looking hellhound walking up towards Adam, and then Adam says to his friends, he's like, yeah, I wouldn't want like a big scary dog though, I would want like a cute one, you know, one you can have fun with. And just as he says this, the hellhound that's walking up to him turns into this tiny little like Jack Russell puppy, because that's what the Antichrist wants. And then the dog continues towards its master. Now Crowley and Aziraphale are on the way back to the hospital to see if they can look through the records, and they hit someone with the car. So Crowley's like, oh crap. Oops. And it turns out the person that they've hit is Anathema. So if you remember, she's the one that was reading the book, and the book is going to predict, you know, the end of everything. And Anathema has just moved to the area where like Adam lives, which is called Tadfield. So they hit Anathema, but she's okay, and they're like, oh, like, can we offer you a lift? And would you be able to give us directions to Lower Tadfield? So she gives them directions, they take her home. As she gets in the house, she realizes that she's accidentally forgotten the book. The book! Not a good thing to forget. She accidentally left it on the floor of the car, because obviously she'd like hit her head when she fell, you know, like she's not thinking straight, and unfortunately she has forgotten the book. So now Crowley and Aziraphale arrive at the old hospital, which has, of course, as we said in the beginning, been burned down by Hastur, and it has been turned into Tadfield Manor, which is a conference and management training centre. But it is still being run by Mary. So our sister Mary is now going by Mary Hodges, and she is running this whole training centre. So Crowley and Aziraphale begin to walk towards the management centre. As they're walking through the front garden, both of them get shot. Yep, both of them get shot. And that is part 1 of Good Omens. I know, I'm leaving you on a cliffhanger, although if you've already read it, you know what happens anyway. I decided to split this video into multiple parts just to make it more digestible, because I know like a super long video is not for everyone. So make sure you check out part 2 if you want to see what happens next with our friends in Good Omens. This has been so much fun. Make sure you check out my channel or subscribe to notifications if you want to get notified like when the next part drops. And I will see you guys in part 2. Thank you for watching.